mchumba wangu, tulipendana kama nyama choma. Alibahatika kwenda ng'ambo, chuo kikuu kwenda kusoma, miaka mitatu kule Japan. Gitari, sina bombe. All right. Now, for the lovers of food and beverage control, let me take this opportunity to make some things clear um, about this particular unit. It's a very much interesting unit that we need to get more interested as a serious food and beverage production practitioners. We have this unit which is being tackled in two different categories. We have the diploma module 2, the management class dealing with control. We also have the craft in food and beverage. Craft in food and beverage are also dealing with this unit of food and beverage. Now, there's a lot of confusion about which kind of subtopic are supposed to be tackled or taken by which particular group. Now, that's what I want to bring about the difference about, and then we will know what you're supposed to do. The major difference here is very minimal. Otherwise, the whole practice of food and beverage in itself is very much essential and is supposed to be taken by everybody who is dealing with food and beverage production and sales. Without proper control, some other aspects cannot succeed, because without control, then we'll totally be in a mess. Much more of what we'll be doing without control will not be able to have our goals and targets set. So now let us talk about the course outline of this particular unit called food and beverage control. This is about understanding what entails food and beverage control matters. Now we have a particular area of concern here which we need to know. Now, all the groups have got an introduction to food and beverage control. So what you are required in the first topics, according to these ones, is that you are required to have a deeper meaning of food and beverage control. Then you should be able to state the importance of food and beverage control. So in craft, we call it importance of food and beverage. In diploma, we call it objectives of food and beverage control. Then we have the process of control, and then we have departments under food and beverage control. So the department under food and beverage control includes the bar area, the production or the kitchen area, the reception, the restaurant, main restaurant, the cafeteria, or what we call the coffee dispensing department. Now, in this one, we also have other areas. Generally, we can say all income generating departments or units in a catering establishment are under food and beverage control. Now, apart from that, we also have to deal with the control cycle. What are some of the control cycles that we have? So, control cycles that we have, it goes into 3 phases. The first phase is the planning phase, which is phase 1, phase 2, which is the operational phase, and phase phase 3, which is called the post operation control. So post operation control, you can also call it um, uh, post you can call it control after event. That is so in this uh, categories of control cycle, we have different things that do happen there. So we have the aspect of financial policies. We have different policies that happen within the control cycles. So we have three policies. The basic three policies includes financial policy, making, we have the marketing policy, and then we have the catering policy. So what does the catering policy, financial policy deals with? Financial policy deals with all the revenue concerned and income and expenditure concerned. It deals with setting standards on how expenditure and income is regulated. Then marketing policy now deals with how how the marketing and advertisement takes place. It deals with checking on what are some of the marketing segments that an establishment can be able to catch. It deals with setting out standards in terms of uh, uh, production. The marketing also deals with the analysis of the customer trend, customer demand, and all those. Then catering operations policy, it all entails the regulations of the available standards that have been put in place. Now, the second topic in this, we have equipment and materials used in control. Now, this one is only found in food and beverage, the craft. So for craft people, they are supposed to talk about food equipment used for equipments used for uh, control. Just a minute. Yes. Now for craft, that is certificate in food and beverage level. They deal with equipment and material used in control. Now let us look at some of these equipments and materials used in control. Some of these equipments includes the receiving equipment. This includes the measuring and weighing equipments that are used in control, the standard portion equipment. And then under that, we are also supposed to talk about uses and maintenance. How do you maintain your equipment, and how do you maintain those materials that you're using? Materials include the packing bags. These packing bags are what we call materials in that particular aspect, and it does not entail raw materials, but in essence it entails some other subsidiary materials we use during control. So it might be a piping bag, it might be a um, wrapping paper or packing bag or any other thing that is used. Then it also talks about storage procedures and storage equipment. So storage equipments include fridges and the freezers, shelves, and all other cabinets that are supposed to be used for storing different assets, different materials, including the raw materials that are supposed to be there. Then you move to the next topic. I'm still on craft. The next topic, which we talk about purchasing, which we will talk about purchasing here. Now, under purchasing, it you are supposed to know and have the skill of purchasing procedures, standard specification, how you develop standard specification or standard purchase specifications, and then selection of suppliers. How do you select your suppliers? What are the methods of selecting suppliers? We also have what we call supplier ratings. Then all these you should be able to know in those particular topics. Then after that, we have what we call another subunit, subtopic called receiving. So what do we do in receiving and what are some of the activities concerned with receiving? Now we have, of course, each and every topic you have to deal with the definition and some other detailed meaning of it. So you have to define what receiving is. So there are activities which are happening during receiving. We have receiving procedures, commodities or inspection, timetabling of deliveries, and tagging of items in the store. Mostly what is being tagged are expensive materials. So that is what is supposed to be covered under the receiving. Then, of course, after those topics that we have discussed, have talked about, then of course you can have your testing, you can have your cut in between so that you can test whatever you have got. So after purchasing and receiving, then now you need to store. So that is taking us to the next topic of storage and issuing. So in this subtopic, you need to, in this topic, you need to know the storage organization, storage accommodation, which means the capacity of the storage of items, how you set your stock levels, how you set your stock limits, when do you reorder, and when do you order. So all those are supposed to be checked in the stores, um, and issuing. Then we also have what we call types of stores. We have roles of a storekeeper, and then we have issuing procedures. Then we have records and documents of stores items. Documents which are used in the store. That one you should be able to know. So just a quick example. We have types of stores. We have general store, we have central store, we have subs, departmental stores. Then, of course, you will be able to find the meaning of, not the meaning, but rather the role of storekeeping officer, the qualities of a good storekeeper, and then issuing procedures is also another matter to be discussed there. Then we have issuing procedures. What do you need to do when you are receiving? And also in the stores and um, issuing, you have to know how is your store area supposed to be. So those ones you are supposed to tackle in that area. And then after that, now we are supposed to look at portion control. Of course, portion control here, you will have to uh, check on the following: preparation for production control, production methods, and also production control, then food service. Normally, in diploma in diploma model 2, it includes or it normally stress on control before preparation, control during preparation, control during production, and then production methods, then service methods. What are the control measures that takes place during the service, before service, during service, and after service? Now, that is a topic of its own. Then we also have what we call uh, I've mixed you a bit. Under portion control, we have the definition, and then we have objectives of control. Mark me right. We have objectives of control. Then we are supposed to check on techniques of portion control, and then we look at standard portions. What are the details of a standard portion? And then we also have details of um, standard portions and how to prepare a standard portion script. So after that, you are supposed to check on control of sales. So in control of sales, we have what you call checking methods, distribution of checks, then billing, and then methods of payment. So all those you're supposed to check and see. Then lastly, we have emerging trends in food and beverage control. Of course, these are issues that are having to do with trends and how things. So you're supposed to identify some of the common trends around food and beverage preparation, food and beverage sales, food and beverage, or catering and accommodation operations within a particular establishment. Then you look at the challenges in food and beverage control system with regards to emergence, with regards to the current trends. Then how do you cope with the challenges? And then you'll be good to go. So now I want to just highlight on the first topic. Now the main difference, which I have not talked about now, and I want to talk about, is that in food and beverage craft module 2, we don't deal with the budget as a topic. Budget is tackled by the diploma in food and beverage management. So those who are doing food and beverage management are the ones who are supposed to tackle food and beverage management. So now in food and beverage management control as a topic, we are supposed to look at some of the objectives. Some of the objectives of food and beverage control may include, but not least to, analysis of income and expenditure. Then we have establishment of standard. Then another objective is control of waste. And then it also have to deal with pricing as a major objective of uh, food and beverage control system. And then we also have prevention of fraud. Now let us look at some of these things one by one. What is the major concern about analysis of income and expenditure? So in this one, the revenue analysis is usually done by the selling outlets. It is also involves the analysis on the outcome of the projected volume of sales. It involves the analysis of the outcome of the projected volume of sales. It also concerns with the analysis of the sales mix. It is also concerned with the analysis of the average spending power of customer. Then it also concerned with the analysis of the number of customers served. So when you analyze the income and expenditure, you will have to check on how many guests were served, what is this average spending power of your clients, and then what were the sales mix. Sales mix here means we have different uh, products to be sold within a catering establishment operation, ranging from um, food products from the kitchen to other services that are being sold to customers within the same establishment. Now, in this one, you have to know which and what particular items were sold when you are analyzing income and expenditure. And then you look at the volume of sales. Within a particular time, what were the sales, um, the sales income as per that production process or as per that time. So those are the aspect of analysis. Another aspect of analysis is that the analysis of expenditure or cost, uh, it has to deal with the departmental food and beverage costs. Now we are done with the income part of it. Remember the income part of it I've said, you analyze the projected sales mix, you analyze the sales volume, you analyze the number of customers served, and you analyze the customer average spending power. That is on the side of income. Then now you analyze your expenditure on the other side. So this is where you will check on each and every departmental costs and expenditures. And then you also have to be keen on the portion costs and also labor cost. So some of the areas that are bringing about um, expenditure, those are the expenditure sections that you are supposed to check. Now it is also have to deal with the performance of each outlet expressed in terms of gross profit, net margin, and uh, all those. So you must know what was the gross profit. You must establish the net margin, and then you must establish the net profit. Now let us look at some of these aspects. What is a gross profit? Gross profit is excess of sales minus uh, the cost of goods sold. Then net margin. Net margin is the excess of sales minus the cost of uh, materials or goods plus the cost of uh, labor cost and staff meal. Now, net profit is the excess of sales subtracted from. So let me say in simple terms, net profit is the difference between the sales realized at that particular time and the total cost. So total cost include all expenditures that have been incurred. Now the second objective, we have just talked about income and analysis, analysis of income and expenditure. Now let us talk about establishment of standards as an objective. So each and every food and beverage control system must strive to establish standard under which some of these um, processes and operations will be carried out. So Standards are guidelines which are supposed to be followed while carrying out a particular operation. So this provides the basis on which objectives have to be accomplished. It also guides on the process the management and staffs use in the performance of their tasks. So without these guidelines, some of these projected targets will never be realized. Now, let us look at the pricing aspect as one of the objectives of food and beverage control. So in this one, this is the determination of the selling point value of items, those things that you want to sell. Now, what profits do you expect, and what is your price um, uh, that will give you the profit? And then in pricing here, you also have to be aware about the average spending power of your clients, because minus that, you can never be in a position to know um, whether customers will be able to buy. So you must be conscious of the ability of customers to buy with that selling price. So this is the determination of the selling point value of items or products and services offered in an establishment. So all this is determined by the following factors. So some of the factors that determine pricing in food and beverage establishment with regard to control is that food costs, average spending power of your customers, prices of competitors, and acceptable market price. We have regulations that are done with with other regulators, e.g., the government. There are certain price levels that you cannot surpass, and then price of competitors you must also check, because you will be your own lone ranger when you price your goods exorbitantly, and then uh, you also have to check the average spending power of most customers. At what price levels are they able to buy? Then food cost. Check on how you can minimize your food cost in whatever way possible, so that when you uh, set your price, you will not be in a position to uh, get frustrated about what exact price you should sell your goods in order to realize a profit. Then the third objective here, we have what we call prevention of waste. So we have different factors that are leading to waste, and some of these factors are human based, some of these factors are beyond our reach. So the following factors are paramount in achieving efficient and effective prevention of waste. Number one, maintaining performance standard by establishing some key aspects: food cost targets, revenue targets, and profit targets. So if you set profit targets, revenue targets, and food cost targets, there will be no any sense of waste. Even if there will be some unavoidable circumstances, but they will be somehow minimal. So in this case, if you are a food and beverage controller, then you have no otherwise when it comes to prevention of waste. You must set targets, food cost targets, revenue targets, and also profit targets. Then now uh, the fourth objective here, we have what we call prevention of fraud. We have different types of fraud. Fraud, in a simple layman's language, uh, is theft in itself. So how does theft occur? Who causes theft or who does theft? Theft is also can also be one of the uh, ways we can say it is a form of corruption. So now let us look at some of the examples of fraud that we have. We have two major categories of fraud that we have in aidway, food and beverage control and management. Now in this one, we have what we call fraud committed by customers. Then we have fraud committed by staffs. So let us look at some of the examples of uh, fraud committed by customers. Number one, we have deliberately walking out without paying. Some customers are very cunning. They walk out without paying. They pretend they have not seen the bill, and then eventually they disappear. That is fraud. Number two, unjustifiably claiming that the food or drink they had partly or totally consumed is unpalatable. This is more mostly common with the slay queens, if I may say. I have no regret about that. Most of these our ladies, when you take them out, they tend to behave in such a way that even after consuming the whole plate of French fries, they will claim that that French fry was not good, and then eventually they may end up refusing to pay. So that is a fraud in itself. So after complaining that it is unpalatable, then that is an indication that they are not going to pay. The other type of fraud that is done with the customers is disputing the number of drinks served. You normally see people drink in groups, and some customers normally tend to entertain their their buddies. Now, in this one, you'll find that um, after getting drunk or overdrunk, they will end up refusing completely um, to pay certain items that are within their list of bill. So in that way, they may not end up not paying, and that's a loss to the establishment. But especially the heavy drinkers, they normally refute some of these uh, bills. Then the last one on customer fraud, making payments by stolen check or credit cards. For the people who love cashless money or paperless money, some of them use stolen checks, stolen cards, or outdated or stale checks to settle their bills. Eventually, if this one is realized, you'll find that the management will finally end at a loss. So all this, if not checked properly, then we may end up not making any business. So an effective control system will always make sure to set standards that will help in curbing some of these types of frauds. So now we also have examples of fraud committed by uh, staffs. So on the side of staffs, the type of fraud that they normally do is overcharging the guests. They overcharge the food items that they have served or the beverage items that they have served. Now, again, there is also that aspect of undercharging food items that have been served. Uh, to some to some extent, I've realized that understanding how undercharging food items served is a fraud has become so much a difficult task to most of the students. But look at it in this aspect. Um, we have expert waiters within different catering establishment um, operations. So a waiter might be in a collusion with a customer and thereby ending up charging a customer a lower value than the normal charge. And then at the end of the day, that particular commission remains to end up in the pocket of the waiter or the staff. The number three, the um, fraud committed by staff is pilfering of food and drinks. Yeah, there are some naturally crafty staffs who normally make sure that they at least steal something from wherever they work. So that one is one of the frauds that is committed by um, the staffs. So generally, what I may say here is that some of these frauds must be controlled by an effective, proper, efficient food and beverage control system. The last objective, or the fifth objective, is management information. The major essence of control system is to manage and make corrective measures in food and beverage operation system. Once you get an accurate periodic report from an important source of information, you lay strategy and you formulate a strategy with an aim of making a decisive um, decision. Now, the information reported is then compared with the standards set for the period to evaluate the extent of compliance with the budget and profit established uh, projections or standards. So all the informations that you will get will enable you to manage uh, and make decisions. So what are some of these informations that we expect to get so that you make good management of that information? Now, we have information from departmental uh, sales. So the sales performance and the sales volumes are some of the informations that uh, you require periodically in order to help you make decisions and other worthy corrective measures. Now let us look at some of the limitations of food and beverage control, because each and everything that has an advantage must have a disadvantage. So in this essence, we say that a control system in itself will not cure or prevent problems occurring, since it is highly dependent on accurate and update policies and operating uh, processes to be realized or to become reliable. So what are we saying in this? We're saying that control systems, once they are put in place, they cannot take effect or they cannot be realized or they cannot add any value unless we have uh, some other aspects like accurate and update policies. So it is dependent on the accurate and update policies. So without updates and accurate policies, then a control system may not have any meaning. That is basically what we explain by that statement. Another statement about limitations of food and beverage control is um, it requires constant management supervision to ensure that its function it functions efficiently. So what are you saying in this statement? The statement means that control system, once set, it requires management supervision to make sure that it functions efficiently as required. So it must be supervised so that all the guidelines that are put in place are followed. It also requires knowledge and skilled people to direct its utilization towards determined goals. So if you have a control system which is not understood by most of the staffs, then the determined goals or the target goals will never be reached because none of the staffs understands the control system, so it cannot work. So it is dependent on the skilled staff and the skills available for its implementation. Then the third one, it needs management action to evaluate the information uh, produced and then act upon it. So without evaluation of the information that have been gathered, then control system might not make a meaning. Now let us look at fundamentals of control. Fundamentals of control are also methodology of control. So in this one, we are going to look at it in different angles. So in food and beverage craft course, they are called methodology of food and beverage control. Then in diploma, we call it fundamentals of control. So the development of an effective control system, it revolves itself into three distinct broad policies or phases. So we have the basic policy decision or planning phase. Then we have the second, which is operation control or catering control cycle, which is phase two. Then we have control after event or management or post-operation control. So what do we have in planning phase? I told you earlier that in planning phase, we have the establishment of financial policy, marketing policy, and catering policy. Now, financial policy, it is now setting targets of profits from each department in respect to the menu and wine list. And then it also determines the level of profitability and cost limits. So, as I had said, financial policy deals with setting targets of profit and also setting uh, targets on cost limits. So it is that financial policy that deals with that. Now, setting targets from each department is done in respect of menu and wine list. Then now it also determines the level of profitability. And when you want to do that, there are steps that determine the financial policy of an establishment. So let us look at some of the steps that determines the financial policy of an establishment. So number one, we have the overall profit targets set up. So you look at the return on capital employed or the return on investment. So that is return, that is ROI, return on investment. Then you determine the profit percentage on sales expectation. Then again, you determine the revenue to cover cost. Then another one, you determine the cost of sales of each department. So with that, you will be able to uh, find a reliable financial policy, and then you plan profit margins for each group of income generating um, departments. Now let us look at the policy. The policy is to identify the broad market or customer the operation intends to serve, and a particular segment of the market if it intends to concentrate on. Now in this one, now this is where now the establishment will be looking at the type of customers that they are looking for. For example, in uh, big establishments like the resorts, um, five-star hotels, they decide on the particular customers that they want to deal with. If it is international customers and tourists, they just settle on that. But they will give some more space for the local tourism or tourists who might have had the chance to come. So it should identify the immediate customer demand. Market policy should identify the immediate customer demand. That is when it will be able to set up standard for satisfying these demands. Now let us look at the objective of marketing policy. Objectives of marketing policy is to find out the origin or nationality of the customers. Then you also find out the customer profile. How do they normally spend? Then you must achieve, maintain, or increase the market share. That's an objective that you must put in place. Another objective of marketing policy is to increase sales volume by focusing on the sales volume projections. Then the third one is to increase profit percentage for the successive years to achieve a new average. Yes, then another one is to achieve a new average spending power per customer by setting price levels. Again, the last objective of marketing policy is to determine the product awareness throughout the trading period. So it is upon the marketing department to set marketing policy that will enable them to maintain the product awareness throughout the trading period. Meaning that all those activities that involve with exposing the services and products is now lying under the marketing department. So now under marketing department, uh, those are some of the objectives that we have. Now let us look at the catering policy. We are still under the first phase, which is planning. So we are dealing with the policies that include financial policy, marketing policy, and catering policy. Now, when we talk of catering policy, now it determines and describes the method by which objectives are to be achieved. Usually, it entails the following areas. So it will concentrate on the type of customer, the type of menus to be dispensed, the type of beverage provisions, the food quality standards, the method of buying, and again, the type and quality of service that is rendered. Then the degree of comfort and decor and the hours of operation. Degree of comfort and decor will have to do with what we call ambience. For example, if you look at the background, my background, you can describe the kind of decor or the kind of ambience that has been displayed at the background there. So how does that one affect customer meal experience? Will it affect negatively or it will affect positively? So those are some of the objectives of catering policy. Now, uh, let us look at the operation control. Operation control involves the following. Now, this is where we have the purchasing, receiving, storing, and issuing, preparation, and then selling. So you must obtain goods by purchasing. Then after purchasing, then you receive them. After receiving them, you restore them. After storing them, you issue them as per the requisition from different departments that are existing within um, the catering control department or system. Now, what normally happens at some of these um, areas of concern? We have number one, the purchase. It involves five main points to be considered. So this includes product testing, yield testing, establishment of purchase specifications, methods of buying, and some other clerical procedures. So in clerical procedures is when you will include all the documents or documentations that are used in uh, during purchasing. We must have a purchasing order, which is called LPO or local purchasing order. You must have a requisition note. You must have a standard purchase specification. You must have um, um, some other documents that you use for recording. So, how about receiving? What uh, as are the basic three main points that are looked into during receiving or considered. So you must be aware or cognizant of quality. You must inspect goods for quality. You must inspect goods for quantity. You must have clerical procedures. So this is where now you gather all your documents that are used during receiving. It includes the documents used during um, receiving includes number one, uh, goods received book. We have an invoice. We have credit note, and we also have um, a purchase delivery note. So, who gives delivery note? The person or the supplier. Who writes a credit note? A credit note is prepared by the receiving officer. Now, when we talk about storing and issuing, it involves the following activities. It involves stock records keeping, and then it involves also pricing issues, valuing some of these items that have been received in the store. And of course, we have methods of pricing of various types of issues. So we do pricing by actual purchase price. We do pricing by selling price from the supplier. We do pricing through simple average price. We do pricing through weighted average price and also standard price. So as we move on, we'll be looking on those methods of pricing bit by bit. And then also on that, we have uh, during store and issuing, we also have what we call, apart from pricing and recording, we also have what we call stock taking, checking the level of stock that is supposed to be held and the balances, then the clerical procedures. What are some of the clerical documents that are used during clerical procedures. As I have mentioned, we have record cards, we have the bin cards, stock taking card reports, and also uh, requisition forms. Now, after storing, and then now you have issued. Now let us look at preparation. In preparation, it involves the following points of consideration for actions: volume focusing, predicting the volume of sales; pre-costing, controlling the food and beverage cost in advance of preparation and service. Then we have clerical procedures. Documentation is required to be maintained. So, what are some of the clerical procedures that are required during preparation? Um, this is where now uh, you use standard recipes. So, in using standard recipes is one of the basic major documents that is required to be used um, during preparation. You follow the procedures as had been laid. Now, what about the selling point? It involves aspects of checking system, the control of cash and clerical procedures, recording the sales, recording debts, and any other thing. Now we have the management control after event. So that is phase three. Activities involved in management control after event is assessment of performance, taking corrective measures. So in control after event, now this is where you look at how was the general performance of the whole operation process, and then the corrective actions that you put in place. So under this, we are supposed to look at elements of cost. Elements of cost. Now, what is cost? Cost is the value of economic resources used as a result of production of any commodity and performing any service. It is the value of any economic resource used as a result of production of any commodity or performing service. Uh, we have main elements of cost, which include material cost, labor cost, and overhead cost. Material costs include food, beverage, cigarette, and tobacco. Note, any food consumed by staff as staff meal must be deducted from food costs and added to labor cost. Food cost is calculated by the formula of opening stock. You add purchases minus uh, staff meals, then you minus cost uh, of sales. So that one will give you food cost or food materials. So where opening stock, purchases, staff meals, and closing stock is involved, you can be able to establish a food cost. Alternatively, you can say opening stock, add cost of purchases minus closing stock minus staff meal is equal to material cost. We had the second element of cost, which is labor. Example of labor, it include wages, salary, national security fund, staff meals, staff accommodation, national insurance contribution, medical allowance, staff uniforms and transport, and then recruitment and training costs. So those are the examples of um, labor cost. Remember, labor costs uh, consist basically the basic pay, that is daily, weekly, monthly wages, and also labor-related costs, e.g., holiday pay, overtime, and any other allowance that might be available for staffs. And then we have what we call factors affecting labor cost level. So number one factor that affects labor cost level is type of operation. Does the operation at sometimes allow more staffs to be uh, employed? Or another factor, volume of the business. How big is that volume of the business in terms of the workforce required? Then peak periods. Sometimes we have short-time labor, which is only required during uh, peak periods. Peak periods are those periods when there's a lot of activities and clients are many. Then we have what we call function and seasonal catering. So this one deals with things to do with banqueting services, and then equipment and technology. Staffs must have skills. They must have skills on how to uh, operate and use equipment. So the other part of the elements of cost, we have what we call overhead cost. These are all costs other than material cost. They include rent, gas, electricity, repair and maintenance or renewal, postage stamps, printing and stationery, bad debts, motor vehicle expenses, loan interest, legal fees, insurance, depreciation, bank charges, advertising and display expenses, laundry expenses, etc. Remember, the total materials, labor cost, and overhead cost is described as the total cost. The total cost of all labor cost, overhead cost, material cost are called are expressed as total cost, which can also be expressed as a percentage of sales. So let us look at the profit concept. There are three main profit concepts used in catering establishment, and these ones are A, gross profit, B, net margin profit, and lastly, net profit. So, what are gross profit? This is the excess of sales over the cost of materials. Sometimes it is referred to as kitchen profit, food profit, or bar profit. Rooms revenue is normally treated as 100% profit. So now, what are gross profit? Sales gross profit is the excess of cost of materials, cost of food, or uh, cost of the goods or raw materials Remember in the kitchen operation, gross profit is sometimes also called the kitchen percentage or kitchen profit. That one I had said. Then net margin. This is the profit realized after deducting labor cost and material cost. It is the excess of sales over the cost of materials and labor cost, which is calculated under the formula of net margin is equal to sales minus material cost plus labor cost. Then net profit, this is the excess of sales over total cost. So net profit is equal to sales minus total cost. Total cost include material cost, labor cost, and overhead cost. Then let us classify some of these costs that we have. We have fixed cost and variable cost. We also have direct and indirect costs. And then we have cost classification by function. Going forward, let us look at fixed costs, fixed and variable costs. Fixed cost is the cost that remains the same at various levels of output, e.g., cost. That means the cost does not change with change in output. For example, rent does not change regardless of the nature of outputs. Some other kanjo rates does not change. Insurance premiums does not change regardless of the input. Depreciation of equipment and assets do not change with regard to output. And then salaries of management. Permanent employees, their salaries will never change regardless of the output, even if the establishment is undergoing losses. We have a variable cost. Variable cost is the cost which changes with the level of production. That is, when production increases, variable cost also increases, and vice versa. Example, food cost is a variable cost. Cost of labor is a variable cost. A cost of liquor, not labor. Cost of liquor. Then cost of cigarettes, and then wages of factory workers. Mostly the casual or non-permanent. Then we have direct and indirect cost. Direct cost is that cost which can be identified for the production of some specific goods. Raw materials and labor cost are direct costs because they can be charged and are identified to the production of some specific output, meaning they affect they they directly affect the output of a production. Then we have indirect cost. This is the cost which cannot be identified to the production of specific goods. The costs are incurred for the activities as a whole in case of any department or organization uh, for that matter. Then examples of indirect costs include indirect material cost, indirect wages, electricity, wages charged, and then rates uh, and rents, short-term hire. Then classification by function. Cost can be classified according to the function or activity uh, that is in place. And it consists of production cost, administration cost, and selling and distribution cost. So now we have what we call production cost, costs that are directly involved in converting raw materials into finished products. It's e.g. Cost of raw materials, labor cost, factory rent, etc. Administration costs. This includes the following: office rent, postage and telephone cost, service of salaries of office of the staffs, and then depreciation of office machines. So now we have selling and distribution cost. These are those costs which are incurred to promote the sale of goods to customers. For example, uh, cost of distribution and advertisement, and then we have cost of delivery. So cost of advertisement is normally under selling and distribution cost, because for you to advertise, you must do what? You must pay. So when there is any deviation from that aspect, then you'll find that things are not moving strongly. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking forward to take you through more areas of concern in with relations to food and beverage control. If this particular uh, discussion has made some sense or meaning to you, then please kindly like, share, and subscribe for subsequent notification of other videos that we'll be uploading, so that you can be able to understand some of these products, some of these contents. Otherwise, I love you all, and I'm looking forward to bring you more units and articles. Now, each and every time when you want to log in, just go into your YouTube, search for Kiongozi in class, and you'll be able to find some of these videos and contents. I'll be taking you through those topics, and then you can always find time to make inquiry, ask questions through my WhatsApp number 0722 541 294. 0722 541 294. You'll be able to get all the questions and concern that you can be able to find out. Otherwise, thank you very much for taking your time. Thank you very much for planning to watch my lesson contents, and we'll be able to prosper and deal with some of these issues pertaining to expertise in food and beverage control system. Remember, if you are very serious with this particular topic or subject, you can be the best storekeeper that we have in our time. Otherwise, thank you.